Have you ever heard a sound so soft, yet so wrong, that your body reacts before your brain understands? A faint shuffling, a soft tap, the pressure change in a room that shouldn't have opened. This story begins with something just like that. A sound that happened every night at 4:03 a.m. inside a student housing building in Kuala Lumpur. And the thing making that sound was a girl who walked through walls. Akmal moved into block Mawar 31, a 3-story student accommodation near his university. He didn't care about the peeling paint or the flickering hallway lights. Rent was cheap. The location was near campus, perfect for a final-year student who barely slept anyway. The first oddity came on his very first night. At 4:03 a.m., he woke up abruptly, not because of noise, but because the air suddenly felt colder, heavier, as if someone had opened a giant refrigerator door. Then he heard it. He rubbed his eyes, sat up, and looked at the door. Then, a soft rustling sound. But it wasn't at the door. It was on the right wall of his room. He frowned. The room next door was empty. The landlord told him that entire unit was unused for years. Yet he heard something like fabric brushing the cement, followed by a slow dragging sound, passing across the wall, and then fading into nothing. Akmal told himself it was the building settling. Thin walls. But the next night, at the exact same time, it happened again. Always 4:03 a.m. It was the 4th night when Akmal finally saw her. He woke at 4:03 again, the same cold, heavy drop in the air. But this time, he kept still, watching, listening. And then he saw a faint glow forming on the right wall. The shape emerged slowly, a silhouette of a girl, wearing something that looked like a loose, old-fashioned nightgown. Her face was down, her feet were bare, and her hands were pressed against the wall, as if she was trying to push through it. Akmal held his breath, and walked straight through the solid concrete wall, into his room. Her body didn't phase through like a ghost in a movie. No, it looked wrong. Like her form was sliding through the wall in 2 frames of animation, distorted and delayed, like an old corrupted video file. Through the wall, turned her head slightly. Not toward him, but toward something behind him, something that wasn't there. Her lips moved. No sound came out. Then she continued walking, slowly crossing the room and disappearing through the opposite wall. Akmal stayed frozen until sunrise. The next morning, he considered leaving. Who was she? Why did she appear at the same time, every night? And why did she look like she was searching for something? Most tenants avoided talking about the right side unit. Some pretended they had never heard anything. Others quickly changed the topic. Until an old cleaner, Auntie Ross, finally said something. "Boy, you stay at room 2213, right? That wall. Last time, not a wall. It used to be a door. What happened to the room?" The landlord said no one ever stayed there. Auntie Ross shook her head slowly. "No, people stayed there. But something happened." "What happened?" "She disappeared. Police say maybe kidnapping. But students say she walked out on her own. The door to the room was sealed the same week. The entire unit permanently closed. Records erased." "But why 4:03? Akmal asked. "A normal person would move out." That night, he stayed awake with his phone, camera pointed at the wall. At 4:03, the temperature dropped again. The girl appeared. Her motion was eerie, as if her body was detached from time, lagging, skipping frames, vibrating slightly as she moved. But this time, something was different. Her eyes sunken but determined, her lips trembling as if trying to speak. Akmal whispered, "What do you want?" The girl raised her hand and pointed. Not at Akmal, not at the wall, but at the floor. Then she repeated the same gesture. Down, down, down. Before fading away, the sealed room next door was directly connected to the old maintenance storage beneath the building. Something was there. The next day, Akmal pried open the rusted gate to the basement storage. Dark, cold, smelled like dust and old metal. When he reached the bottom, something immediately felt off. The floor had a faint discoloration, darker patches, circular stains. Old, scrubbed, but not erased. In the far corner, he saw a rotting wooden panel leaning against the wall. Behind it was a small human-sized crawl space. Inside were some forming words. 4 words were carved the deepest. He felt his entire spine tighten. He backed away, stumbling. The same cold pressure he felt at 403. It was daytime. The girl stood at the bottom of the stairs, her face clearer now. Terrified, she pointed again to the crawl space, then placed her hand over her throat and mimed a cutting motion. Akmal swallowed. You were killed. Down here, she nodded painfully slow. Her hands trembled violently. She pointed at the scratches, at the words. Akmal finally understood. She was reliving her attempt to escape through the door that was later sealed. Her ghost was simply repeating her final movement, walking toward the exit that no longer existed. She wasn't haunting anyone, Akmal whispered, voice breaking. What do you need from me? Her eyes filled with a cloudy, glowing light. She lifted her hand slowly and pointed upward. The sealed room. She wanted the truth exposed. The next morning, Akmal reported everything to the police anonymously. Within 48 hours, the building was swarming with officers. The sealed unit was broken open, the crawl space uncovered, and the remains of a young woman finally recovered. News spread. And the next night, at 4:03 a.m., Akmal sat awake again. No cold air. The wall was just a wall.